Well, hey there, Shooby Doodlers. Here I am in a beautiful Mediterranean island of Crete. And the sun is shining, the sky is dazzling blue, and behind me is the blue Mediterranean Sea, which you can't quite see because there's so much sun. If I just change that, look, can you see the waves? That's what I've been looking at all week. I have been watching and watching and watching the waves again and again. I've been in the surf at eye level watching the waves, watching how they crest and how the surf crashes onto the beach, trying to work it out. And it's not easy. It's the most shifting, sort of intangible, ephemeral kind of thing you can ever want to hope to draw is waves, especially the surf as it comes cresting off the top of a wave.
If you want to see more of this sketchbook, go and see my vacation video here. Now, all artists kind of build on things that they've seen, and all the time I was like on the beach, I was kind of drawing and thinking, this reminds me, I kind of feel that I've kind of maybe written this before, drawn this before, and written it before. And so a part of me was thinking, this is a bit like Tintin, the cartoon strip by Hergé, and I could think of a way that similar things that it kind of felt like I was copying him. But when I came back home and I looked at Hergé, I wasn't. Hergé kind of does it like this. Okay, and if you're a bit OCD, yes, I did mean to paint over that bit because that's kind of a little wavy thing. And so Hergé kind of paints a bit like that. And it's kind of very simple, very effective. The other person I felt I might be kind of copying was Hokusai, the famous Japanese artist. I'm sure you'll know his work. But when I got home and I kind of really looked at it, it's completely different. But at the same time, I know I'm informed by it. I know you can't, once you've seen this thing of the great wave, you can't forget it. I think it's such a masterpiece. It kind of leaves an indelible impression. And so, I mean, this is very rough, but this is kind of what he will do, something like this. And his waves have this kind of little fingers on the top, and then this will be, well, I think actually it's probably not quite so blue. I'll just reduce that down a bit. I'm using a Pentel Aquash brush here in case you're interested. And now it's dry, I can put in the other bits, and then he will kind of do these kind of curves. They're done in Hokusai works in prints, and so they're woodblock prints, and so they kind of work in a different way. But I'm very aware of having been influenced by him as I sat watching the waves, but I'm going to show you how I would now draw a wave. As a matter of interest, I'm trying new paper. I haven't used this before. This is a brand new thing. Daler-Rowney Langton pad is extra smooth hot pressed, which means it's a very smooth finish to the paper. So let's see how we go. So I'm going to draw this as a bit of kind of under planning, just so you can see what I'm kind of thinking. And then maybe something else there, and then kind of the horizon up there. And so we have this wave coming in, and it's maybe a little wobbly, and then it's going to be folding over and cresting at this point. So this is where it's going to now, I'm going to put these little kind of flicks of where it's just starting to kind of fold. And it's just really, really difficult, isn't it? And I tried taking photographs, sort of very quick to freeze frame the whole thing. And it when you do that, somehow it doesn't look right. And waves have this flowing, constantly shifting motion. And then that's going to be the end of this bit of wave that's kind of crashing in there, and then we're going to want these bits so they're kind of folding in on top of each other, and it's impossible. So it's kind of a bit like hokusai. How are we doing here? It's a bit like hokusai, but I'm doing it in a more kind of blobby kind of way, and you're going to want to have this sort of, it's kind of coming over a bit like that, and then you're going to want some bits which are escaping, that have kind of escaped. And you also find like the bit like this, this kind of might kind of break up into a bit like that, and you're going to have blobs and bits kind of, water takes on extraordinary shapes when it's being thrown around, and the power of these waves as they come in. Okay, now what I want to do now is that's going to be kind of curling around, so I'm thinking that there's going to be some kind of movement like this to give it the kind of curl, but at the same time I want to have this kind of pattern which is kind of slightly odd, so I'm just kind of drawing these will be getting a bit smaller, and then so these are just a real guide to give me a feeling of what I'm trying to do, and this is the previous wave has kind of crashed and left this foam, and it's just kind of dissipating, but it's being swept up onto the new wave that is building. And so I'm going to draw these kind of, they're kind of circles like this. And you can see that the pattern is changing, and I'm kind of leaving, left the pattern that I've kind of arranged. So now we need to kind of go around the outside, and these are going to want to kind of break up here, and so we're kind of going around the other way. It's very complicated, and we're going to want to leave these kind of bits, and maybe some bits there just that have just kind of escaped, and maybe we want little bits in the middle of some of these too, and then we can do something similar on this end. So those are kind of going up in and under where it's crashing. I'm going to do something like that, and maybe, and then have some bits kind of like that, and then here I'm going to have these other kind of waves in the background, and then just the horizon kind of over there, and this might just have a tiny little kind of ripple as it's coming over. And I'm going to put some hatching in here to give it a bit of shape to the whole thing. So it's kind of curling around, giving kind of the angle of the curve coming up like that. Some hatching in there just to give a little kind of feeling of waves. Now I'm adding some kind of bubbles here just to kind of break up the evenness of it all, because it's quite a bubbly kind of mixture. This is all kind of bubbles floating on the surface. So I'm going to kind of carefully work my way around here, and immediately I can feel this paper is responding really, really nicely. And I think on a kind of what I got a pretty picture, or a kind of professional illustration, maybe I wouldn't use this paintbrush, but you know, I spent a whole week with this in my hands for on my vacation holiday, and I got really quite used to it. It works differently because the water is in the handle, and so it's constantly flowing, which means that the colour is thinning out as you go. Whereas on a normal kind of brush, you pick up a load of colour and it stays fairly consistent until you kind of load up more colour on it. So it kind of works in a different way, but I suppose I got used to it over a week or so. And now it's going to be really difficult kind of maintaining a consistency of colour. So I've just got to keep working my way around this. And I'm leaving a little bit along there, which kind of isn't wave, but I suppose it kind of represents the sunlight reflecting along the crest of the wave. Now while I'm doing this, I can tell you about my art school on Patreon. You can come and join. You know, if you're getting a bit more serious about art, and you know, YouTube is just kind of entertainment. If you want some proper lessons, I've done an extra one about waves, and it all kind of talks about how the light reflects, and you know what it is you're actually painting, and kind of what colours you're seeing and why. And I do kind of more serious kind of things on my art school, and you're very welcome to come along and join, and you get lots more stuff and a bit more in depth than I kind of do on YouTube. And we're doing assignments. We just finished the first month's assignment, which has some really interesting work in. And you can come and do monthly assignments, hangouts, all sorts of stuff like that. And see, I'm being quite painterly here, which isn't like me. Now we really want this to be a bit darker underneath here, because you got it's as the wave is coming over, as it's cresting and it rolls over the top, then it's creating shadow underneath. But we need to kind of work this so I'm kind of using the brush to get sort of brush strokes in there to give it that kind of, keep going with the ink lines, as it were. I'm going to want some gentle kind of shadow covering the whiteness there, and then just a little bit of kind of spattering amongst it, just so it's not quite so brilliantly white. And then we're going to want some sort of kind of hints of something going on in here. Not much though. And then we got this wave in the background. They're quite dark there, and then I'm going to wash the pen a bit, and calling it a pen, it's a brush. And then just kind of fade that down. Do the same here, so quite dark there, cresting at the top. Clean the brush, just kind of fade it down there. And then I'm going to want something much sort of bluer in the background. And then I'm also going to kind of want this sort of sky in there as well. So there's a lot of blue involved. Blue and green. And now I'm thinking just kind of finally, in fact I'm going to switch this around a bit of an angle, sort of find it. I'm going to want to try and get this more definitely dark underneath there. Maybe a bit more dramatic. I'm just going to finish off with a little bit more darkness underneath there, just to kind of differentiate it a bit more, and then maybe just a little bit more just underneath those bits to kind of bring them forward. And because I can't stop, had a great question this week, was how do you know when to stop? I think I should do a video about that.
So what have I learned from sitting around on the beach all week, drawing waves, drawing the sea? I've learned that if you do it every single day, a little bit every day, you see something new, and each day you build on the little bit that you did before. And the bit that you learned yesterday has kind of been infused into your like vocabulary that you don't have to think about it. It's like learning a new word every day. Learn a little squiggle, learn a little line, learn a little new way of seeing something, learn a new little way of interpreting something every day, and that builds up your vocabulary, which makes it easier to draw other things tomorrow. So there we go. I hope you've learned something about drawing waves. I know I have. And now I think it's time to go and have a little swim in the sea. Well, I hope you enjoyed that, and if you found it a bit difficult, go and have a look at my other channel, Draw Stuff Real Easy, where I've got a much easier how to draw waves video, or try the mystery drawing. Either way, make sure you click that logo and subscribe for lots more drawing videos on this channel. Go and support me on Patreon. You get step-by-step sheets for my Draw Stuff Real Easy things. And in the meantime, keep drawing, practice, and I'll see you next time. You take care now. Bye-bye.